Hello everyone, thanks for joining us for another edition of Texas Insider TV, brought to you by the Texas Alliance of Energy Producers. I'm Jim Cardle. As the state's Agriculture Commissioner, Sid Miller was considered by President Donald Trump for the position of Ag Secretary in Washington, D.C., and he's been following the President's actions as it relates to trade, particularly in the area of NAFTA, agriculture, and tariffs. But yet Sid Miller says there's plenty of reason to be encouraged and excited about the Texas ag economy, and we're pleased to be able to visit today with Texas's Ag Commissioner Sid Miller. Well, State Ag Commissioner Sid Miller, appreciate you taking the time to come in and visit with us today.
It's good to be back with you, Jim.
It's been about 6 months. I know you've been running across the state of Texas, had an election behind you, which I'm going to put behind us as well, and just get on to the things at hand, which is the Texas agriculture economy.
Moving forward, Jim. We're moving forward.
And there's a lot going on these days, I know, with NAFTA being redone and the president fairly active in the export front. But first, if I can, Commissioner, let's talk just generally. And I know there's a lot to be excited about in the Texas economy, but particularly tell us what's going on in the ag economy. I think there's been some good numbers come out by the comptroller that the industry's strong, but what do we have to be excited about in the ag community?
Well, there is a lot of things to be excited about. Looks like we're about 80 to 90% have NAFTA wrapped up. It's going to be a good deal for Texas farmers, for American farmers and ranchers and producers.
Okay.
Going to make what was a pretty good deal, a great deal. Currently talks going on in South America through our trading partners down there. Mm-hmm. Those are all leaning our way. We're going to get some positive things come out of that. Our president is now talking about rejoining TPP,
Trans-Pacific Partnership.
Trans-Pacific Partnership, yes. Which we bowed out of in lieu of individual agreements with those countries, bilateral agreements, which we have 6 of 11 on bilateral agreements. Okay. But this is another leveraging tool that we can use against China. Now we have the tariffs, which we're talking about, which have made the markets somewhat volatile, but they're coming our way. China just said that they were going to lower the tariffs or eliminate the tariffs on U.S. automobiles coming into China. That's huge.
Really?
And I think that's in response to our steel and aluminum tariffs. So now that gives us a reason to ease those up. All this tariff talk, and people get too excited about it, Jim. Just one thing that the American farmer has, maybe the other professions do not have, is patience. We're always waiting on the drought to break. We're always waiting on the spring to get here and the crops to, in the fall to come in and harvest time. We're always waiting on that new calf to be born. But so we have patience. If you're a farmer, you have to have patience. Okay. And that's what I'm telling producers all over the state is just have patience. This is not a big deal. I mean, they want to put a tariff on our beef. We hadn't sold any beef in 14 years. We just got approved in last June, and we don't even have the paperwork on that. So it's hard to lose something you've never had. They want to put a tariff on cotton. Well, China has enough cotton in storage to last them 3 years, so it's not a market for us. Put a tariff on it. We're not selling you that anyway. Mm-hmm. They say, well, we sell them a lot of soybeans. Well, we've already lost that market, a share, but it's not because of the tariffs. We lost it to South America because they get a better deal. They're better quality. Last year's crop was poor quality, so the protein's not there. So we're not losing anything if they put a tariff on something that we're not selling them.
So is it true, if I can interrupt you there, is it true that President Trump has gotten a little credit for being a negotiator? Oh. Some of that is going on, even though we don't hear it in the news. Behind the scenes, it sounds like what you're saying, he's either picking his battles where it matters or doesn't matter, or that come back around now, like on NAFTA, we're getting a better deal, correct?
That is, and the first time in my lifetime we have a businessman for president, and he understands making good deals. Mm-hmm. He wrote The Art of the Deal as his book. I've read it. And if we don't get a good deal, he'll walk. He'll walk away from a bad deal. And they said, well, he's going to create a trade war. Hey, he's not creating a trade. We've been in a trade war for the last 40 years. The problem is we've been losing all those trade battles. So now we're starting to win again. And you know, and the tariffs, we're at the stage, and I just got to remind everybody, just take a breath, be cool. This is like two prize fighters a week before the big fight talking smack. Doesn't mean anything. It's just smack talk, you know, back and forth, back. You know, China wants to put a huge tariff on our coconuts and bananas. We don't grow coconuts and bananas. Let them do it. I mean, it's no big deal.
Yeah.
So, but we're about to wrap up the NAFTA talks. It's going good, especially with Mexico. We still have some bumps to work out with the Canadians, but it looks like we may actually get there with them. So that'll be great. We've got a lot of other good things going on. Our corn farmers had a big win this week. Trump decided to go ahead and make the renewable fuel standards, move it from 10% to 15%, so we're less dependent on petroleum products. Not good news for our oil and gas producers here in Texas, but for the farming community, that is a huge win for our corn farmers and sorghum growers. So a lot of good things going about agriculture. The markets are in fluctuation because of the trade tariffs. He's got North Korea, you know, in the corner and on the ropes, and they're ready to negotiate. Looks like we're fixing to retaliate against Syrians, and that's going to be huge. And of course, we're going to have to deal with the Russians on that. But for the most part, the Russians have been all bark and no bite. And I suspect that this will be the same way, Jim.
Or all hat and no cattle,
there
as they say out in the cornfield. Folks, appreciate you joining us for this edition again with Ag Commissioner Sid Miller. Commissioner, you mentioned oil and gas a little bit indirectly there, which makes me think when folks fill up their cars and put gas in their gas tank, there's the Sid Miller Agriculture Department logo there, because you all monitor and weigh a broad range of economic products in the state. Talk a little bit about why why the Ag Commissioner logo is on fuel pumps, and how that is one of the important things that you do.
That is by statute, by law. The legislature requires us. That's called a consumer information sticker.
Okay.
It has to be on every fuel pump, every scale in the state has a sticker. And it's there for the consumer, for their protection. And on it, it says, you know, if you feel like and I'm paraphrasing, if you get ripped off or cheated, call Sid Miller. He'll have somebody come out and check this pump out, you know, and take the proper action.
So that there's the right amount of fuel, the scales are accurate, correct?
That's right. And not only is the pump accurate, but did you get dirty fuel? You know, you think the octane rating's not right, we'll come check that.
Okay.
We're the Consumer Protection Agency for the state. Also on that sticker, the legislature requires us to put the amount of sales tax, federal and state, on diesel and gasoline's on there. And when I redid the sticker, and this is not required by the legislature, I put a QR code on there. And I don't know if you know what those are, but if you've got the app on your phone, you can just scan that, and you can see how many violations that station has had, how many times they've had sold dirty fuel, if they've had a clean, you know, inspection history. It tells you all in history on where you're buying your fuel. So that's very valuable to consumers. And so we make as much of that available to the consumer as possible.
I know last time you were here, you said you monitor pawn shops' scales for sale of gold. There's all kinds of things. What are some of the others folks might be interested in?
Well, you said pawn shops because they buy and sell gold and silver. We also do mail houses, pharmacies, airports that weigh your luggage. We do things like yogurt shops, cafeterias that sell food by the weight, barbecue places. There's a little controversy about that, but we are there for the consumer. If you buy 3 pounds of brisket, we want to make sure you get 3 pounds of brisket, and it's weighed on accurate, certifiable scales that have been inspected by us.
Yeah. Let me move generally from the Texas economy to the national economy. You were considered for Agriculture Secretary of President Trump. You campaigned with him on the campaign trail a couple years ago.
Right.
Talk about the impact of Texas agriculture on the nation. Folks might generally think of California producing a lot of vegetables and fruit, but our corn, our soybean you mentioned, the cotton, cattle business, what are some of the general figures that folks will be interested in to know about the Texas ag impact on our economy?
Well, agriculture has always been the glue that's helped our state together, even before we had an oil and gas industry.
Okay.
So we are bedrocked from the earliest Texas Longhorn cattle drives to the first cotton that was planted. We lead the nation in agriculture exports, and people need to know that through Laredo, Texas, there's 17 ports. Every day there's $1 billion worth of trade goes through those ports between the state of Texas and the state of Tamaulipas, Mexico.
Really?
That's NAFTA. 14,000 trucks back and forth. So we're the largest exporter of agriculture goods. We lead the nation in cattle, cotton, wool, mohair, horses, hay, sheep, goats, on and on and on. So it's kind of the second probably largest industry in our state is agriculture. So 1 in 7 jobs in this state are related to agriculture somehow. So we're a big employer. It's a big gross product for our state. So it's very important. People don't really realize that.
I think I remember one of the last times you were in, you quoted how many pair of blue jeans could be made by all of Texas cotton.
That's true. That's true. We make enough cotton, or produce enough cotton in 1 year to make 2 billion pairs of these blue jeans that I've got on.
2 billion.
Yeah. Now some of these skinny jeans you see here in Austin, we could probably make 3 billion pairs of those.
Something else to think about, the breadth and the impact of something that is grown, but yet everybody wears blue jeans anymore. So let me change, if I can, to one final subject, a little bit of a field from agriculture, and that is the Sid Miller presence on the internet. It's fascinated a lot of Texans, and certainly something I've noticed is that you've got, I believe it's around 675,000 followers on your Facebook page. Not typical for somebody probably in the ag industry, but talk about how you use technology and some of the numbers that you get for your engagements and so forth.
Very active on Facebook. Trump uses his Twitter, but I found that Facebook reaches the voters that care about government and what's going on, usually from age 40 up. Are the most active. The Twitter followers, usually the millennials and the younger generations.
Really?
But that's the way I communicate with the constituents and the citizens of Texas, is through that. Put up a lot of posts, a lot of information, disseminate the fake news from the real news, get the message out there, and we have fun with it too. I have a joke of the day, but also have the scripture of the day. And we have this day in Texas history, this day in U.S. history, a lot of good and interesting things. And without fail, almost daily, if I'm walking on the street here in Austin, or I'm in Dallas or Fort Worth or El Paso or wherever, someone will come up to me and say, "Hey, I appreciate your Facebook post. Well, I follow you. I get a lot of good information from there." So it's a great way. The Austin American Statesman here has like 85,000 subscribers. We got 675,000.
Wow.
We reach those not with just one edition a day, but I might put up 20 editions or equivalent of 20 posts each day that goes out. So it's a fantastic way to reach the people of Texas.
And you've got more followers and engagements, I think, than most other statewide officials, correct?
There's some other statewide officials like Cruz and Abbott that have more followers than us, but engagements is how we like to measure that. So we'll have anywhere from 1 to 5 million engagements per week, which is more than all the other statewide office holders added together. We have a lot of participation. People engage us. They like our posts. They comment on it. They share it. So it's very, very active. The activity is up there.
So on Facebook, we go to Sid Miller or
Miller for Texas.
Miller for Texas.
Miller for Texas.
And let me ask you, just because I know you got to get back to some meetings at the Ag Department. Tell us just generally, what are the actual numbers of the Ag Department itself? It's billions of dollars, I'm sure. A lot of folks don't realize the economic impact that the Ag Department has, or in terms of the budget impact on our state budget. But you've got quite a broad purview over there and a significant budget.
No one really realizes what all we do at the Texas Department of Agriculture. They think we're cows, plows, and sows, which we are, but we're a lot more than cows, plows, and sows. Put it in perspective.
Okay.
We are a $6 billion agency.
Really?
Now that's a larger budget than 31 governors have. So that kind of puts it in perspective. We do a lot of things you don't think we do. You know, we provide biosecurity for the state. Not border security. It is border security, but it's not the human type. But we pull trucks over, we inspect trucks to make sure they don't have you know, invasive pests or plants or contraband, and we work very close with the Department of Public Safety, and we do find a lot of illegal entry other than plants and pests, some human illegal entry that we work with. We run the export facilities for the state. We have 4 on the Rio Grande and 1 at the airport. You don't really think about shipping livestock in an airplane, but we're the ones that are responsible for that. The largest avenue we do, and no one really knows it, is we provide all the nutrition programs for the state and for the USDA.
Really?
We oversee 5 million school meals each day. School lunch program, school breakfast program, summer feeding program, Meals on Wheels, you know, nursing homes, all of that. We're part of the emergency response team. We're the ones that we don't evacuate people, but we evacuate animals, and we run the USDA commodity program. So we're the ones responsible for getting the food to the shelters so that no one goes hungry. But we're also responsible for getting hay to the cattle that are stranded, or we help get the pine trees off the track so we can get chicken feed delivered in East Texas. There's just a lot of things you don't really think about there. So, and I could go on and on. We have over 130 statutory functions that we perform at the Texas Department of Agriculture. We have specialized inspectors, not only that do pumps and scales, that are highly trained to inspect ping pong balls.
Really? For
the Texas Lottery. Somebody has to make sure that that's all correct and that consumers are not getting ripped off. So before the lottery balls are drawn, we weigh those in a vacuum chamber and make sure that they're legal and tendered. No one's monkeyed with them, you know, and trying to influence the outcome of that lottery. Because it's millions and millions of dollars.
Yeah,
a lot of
for
times.
sure.
Yeah.
Well, Ag Commissioner Sid Miller, I'm not going to go buy a lottery ticket, but all this talk, I think it is time for lunch here shortly. So,
good.
The state's 12th Ag Commissioner representative, former representative, I should add, as well, from Stephenville, Sid Miller, we appreciate you coming in today.
Thank you, Jim. Good to be with you, man.
Appreciate
God bless.
What you do. Well, folks, we appreciate you joining us for this edition of Texas Insider TV, brought to you by the Texas Alliance of Energy Producers, and thanks to Sid Miller for coming in to visit with us today about the Texas economy. Remember, you're either an insider or you're not. I'm Jim Cardle. Thanks for joining us.